Excellent. And we are back live. Give people an opportunity to get into the chat. So, in the past few class periods, or I shouldn't say class periods, past week and a half, let's say, there have been some interesting updates for the AP administration of the test. And when I say the AP administration of the test, I'm not just talking about statistics. I am talking about all of the AP subjects. Have you guys heard anything? Good. We've had multiple meetings about it, but I'm going to explain everything in full. For those of you who may not be aware of it, I'll explain everything in full, especially for those who are in the online chat right now, because there was a letter sent home. No? You got an email about it, though. Good. Okay, good. They said letter, email, whatever. Same thing at this point. But I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. So for some of you, this information is not news, but I just need to do a blanket coverage of the information that was sent out. Let's see. So I brought up a copy of the email right here. Click. Now, you may not be able to see this in full, but I'm just going to read it verbatim. And after I read it verbatim, I do have some comments that I'm going to make, but I will save those comments for afterwards. Hello, AP teachers. As previously discussed, all in-person paper pencil AP exams will be administered at the former pre-K trailer by the board office near Cecil S. Collins School. The exam space is the trailer closest to Barnegat Boulevard. Students are excused from classes on days they take AP exams. BHS attendance will reflect an in-school field trip and be excused. Students will not be obligated to report to BHS on their exam day. Students will be responsible for any work that they miss. Now, just for the sake of argument, our exam day is Tuesday, May 25th. Tuesday, May 25th. It is an A day. It is an A day, just so we're all on the same page with that. Now, you have to make the call for yourself as to what category you are going to be going into for whether you're going to be in school that day or not in school that day or transportation. You're going to make the call based on what they're saying right here. If students are electing to attend classes on their exam day, they must utilize Barnegat Township School District transportation to and from the trailer, even if they drove to school. Okay? If students are not attending classes on exam day, they have two options. Students may be dropped off or drive themselves directly to the exam location for exams and be picked up / leave from there after the exam. Or, option two, if you're not attending classes that day, you may report to Barnegat High School and utilize Barnegat Township School District transportation to and from the exam location. To be clear, students are not permitted to drive themselves from Barnegat High School to the exam location. They can only drive themselves to and from home. Students who drive themselves should park in the Overflow Collins parking lot, the gravel lot along Barnegat Boulevard. So much fun. Notice the sarcasm. Timing for the exams, by the way, we have a 12 o'clock exam, just for the sake of argument. But for 12 o'clock exams, students are to report to the exam location by 11:30. Barnegat Township School District transportation will depart BHS for the exam location either at 7:25 or at 11:25 to be able to get there by 7:30 or 11:30. So it seemed like if you can drive yourself or get dropped off, I mean, there probably is a reason, but I don't know why you would be dropped off at the high school when you could just drop them off at the exam location, but whatever. Students will indicate on forthcoming Google form if they will require Barnegat Township School District transportation to any of their in-person exams, yes or no. Specify the AP exam for which they will require transportation. Check off all that apply. When this Google form is sent to students, it said tomorrow, mind you. So you guys already got it? Cool. All right. It said tomorrow, which I assumed was today, but whatever. They sent it early. When this Google form is sent to students, please encourage them to respond to it ASAP, no later than this Friday at noon. Please make sure that you are responding to that Google form. Transportation department is awaiting our numbers. And then they talk about proctoring, which that information is mainly from me. But let me scroll down a little bit and just see if there's any other information that's pertinent to you. Blah, 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 blah. I have put in a request to the technology department for the AP app to be installed on Chromebooks. In the event of illness or quarantine, students will shift to digital testing in the second or third administration windows. Okay. But obviously, if it's a last minute quarantine, but if they're going to install something on your Chromebooks, you guys already know that they're just install it remotely or some junk like that. Okay. So I will tell you exactly my end of the story. We were told by Miss Gerke, hey guys, you guys are going to be testing inside of a trailer next to the board office. Really? A trailer next to the board office? That's cool. And we're talking about it in the thing and stuff like that. And we were like, well, why are we doing that? And the reason that we were given was that, well, they need the library for after school remediation stuff. And we're like, okay, for like the 10 people that show up versus all the AP students that are taking their AP exam, they're going to have to relocate into a trailer that used to be for the pre-K school. Like, okay, cool. Later on, we were given a bit more clarification that the other part of the reason is, you guys know what's happening on Monday, right? Starting Monday, I should say. You're all coming back? Yeah. Which means they're going to be serving you lunches. Yeah. The library will be used as one of those locations for lunches because they're going to have to spread you out throughout the school. They can't just have everybody in the cafeteria at once. They're going to have people in the cafeteria. They're going to have people in the gymnasiums. They're going to have people in the library. They're going to have people I don't even know where. But it's going to be one giant common lunch. Whereas you used to have 3 lunches, now there's going to be 1 lunch for everybody. Yay! Fun stuff. I have been told by different sources that either the trailer is not big enough or it is big enough. I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never been inside. I have been told by different sources that, well, if it's a pre-K trailer, aren't all of the desks and toilets like set to be like pre-K level? To which I've been told by other people, no, it's been retrofitted to fit adults. Like, cool. All right. There's been a lot of controversy over this, basically, but it's out of my hands. So we're going to be taking our test in a trailer next to the board office. So yay, fun stuff. Other fun stuff. Oh, what's up? Tuesday, May 25th. For us. For us. There he is. No, it didn't. I'm talking about how we're taking our AP test in a trailer. Yes, you heard about this? From what? Oh, from Corona season. For a moment, I thought you had said like the name of the principal, and they're like, "It's what I expect from him." I'm like, "What?" Okay. Yeah. Apparently, you should have been sent an email with this information as well. But there is a Google form that you have to fill out. Not my Google form, somebody else's Google form, and you have to fill it out by no later than Friday by noon in order to figure out transportation. Yeah. I was told, like, oh yeah, this trailer can easily fit this many people, this many desks, blah, 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 blah. To which one teacher was like, I just did the math and I don't think that so-and-so's science class can fit in there. And so I spoke up and I'm like, hey, how many people are in so-and-so science class? And they're like, oh, there's about 20. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Now do the math for 25 because that's us. And they're like, oh, okay. Not only is it 25, there's going to be an additional 10 people for a physics AP exam. There's going to be 35 people in that trailer taking a test, not to mention the 2 proctors. It's going to have to be 6 feet apart. They're going to have to figure that crap out. That's not up to us. Yes. That's not up to us. They know the numbers. That's up to them to figure out. And if they screw it up, that's on them. I have told them my concerns. If they're not going to take my concerns, rightly or whatever you want to call it, that's on them. I've covered my own butt in that regard. Just, it's been a stressful couple of days in regards to everything in the world, but this has kind of been like the gravy on top of the ice cream. It's disgusting, but would you still eat it? I mean, it's ice cream, it's gravy. But now, I, as most of you probably already know, an AP teacher is not allowed to proctor their own class's exam. I'm not allowed to. I am looking to see which exam I am going to be proctoring. I told them that I would prefer to only proctor on A days because leading up to the AP exam, I don't want to miss a day where you guys come in on B days. So I don't know if it would be really weird if they had me proctoring the physics exam right next to where you guys are doing the AP exam. I don't think that would be allowed. So at some point I'm going to be proctoring an exam, but I don't know exactly when, but it's going to be an A day and fun. But yeah, I just wanted to share all of this with you because we had an additional meeting yesterday because apparently misinformation got out and a parent contacted the principal, and the principal was none too happy about some of the misinformation that this parent was throwing at him, and crap runs downhill. So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell you guys anything until literally right now. So apparently a parent found out some information from an AP teacher and got mad. But this is all of the information that we were given. I'm throwing it at you. Yeah. So your responsibilities, fill out that Google form, and hope that they figure out how to space out 35 people in a trailer. Yep. 9.6. Oh, trailer available? Where did you look up this trailer? Okay, but this trailer already exists. This trailer is sitting next to the board office. It had been used originally as a pre-K classroom, and then it was used as a satellite conference room for the board office. I have no clue. I don't know. I've never been there. It is. It's amazing. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Hopefully they'll have left some of that pre-K toys in there, and it'll be fun. But yeah, anyway, that's that. You guys hopefully make sure you've checked your emails. Did they send it to you or to your parents? Both? Okay. So make sure you check that email. Make sure you fill out that Google form. Okay. In the meantime, I have a couple of things planned for today. Number one, I want to talk about problem number 28 some more, the problem from the homework that I had. I want to talk about that one some more because I want to deep dive some of the mechanics behind calculating the p-values. Number two, I want to talk about an assessment that I am going to be assigning you before the end of today. We'll talk about that assessment after I talk about problem number 28. And then with the time that we have left, I do have some AP multiple choice practice that I would like to go over. Look, they heard what I was saying about the trailers, and now they're mad at me. Mr. Marcus room. Hey. Good, how are you? Fourth period, but I have a meeting at 12:40. Oh no, 12:40 is during lunch, right? Oh, good then. Yeah, so I should be available fourth period. Yes. Yeah, they told me that when I came down on Friday, they told me you were out. So I got you. No worries. Okay. Bye-bye. Meetings on meetings on meetings on meetings. Great. I got another meeting. Anyway, goodness gracious. When will it end? Click, click, boom. So like I said, the first thing that, I'm sorry. So the first thing is number 28. The second thing is I want to talk about the assessment that I'm going to be assigning you. And the third thing, with the time that we have left, there are some AP multiple choice questions that I want to get some practice on. I have a whole bunch selected, but I really want to focus heavily on some of the mechanics that are required of it. If you haven't left a comment in the chat, I haven't said this yet, but if you haven't left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. That'd be fantastic. And I can see you all right there so far. And again, my YouTube keeps screwing up. I can't see the live chat on the Chromebook, but I can see the live chat right there. So all of you who have left a comment, you can see that right there. Oh, right there. There you all go. Okay, good. So let's see where we're at. Number 28. To remind you of some of the details for number 28. Several programs attempt to address the shortage of qualified teachers for placing uncertified instructors in schools with acute needs, often in inner cities. From 1999 to 2000, a study compared students taught by certified teachers to others taught by uncertified teachers in the same schools. Reading scores of the students of certified teachers averaged 35.62, standard deviation 9.31. Uncertified teachers had a mean of 32.48, standard deviation 9.43. There were 44 students in each group. They talk about the appropriate T procedure having 86 degrees of freedom. For the most part, you don't have to know how to calculate 86 degrees of freedom. Just know that if you were to run a 2-sample t-test, those 86 degrees of freedom would be calculated for you. And just as a visual, actually, you know what? I'll do it on this one. Yeah. Come on. Elmo. There we go. Good. Just as a visual reminder of that, my batteries are low. Great. 2-sample t-test. I believe all my data is still here from the other day because I haven't done anything with it. But you can see the mean, standard deviation, sample size, mean, standard deviation, sample size. They were looking for they were trying to see if certified teachers scored more. Move that over for the kids online so the glare's not there. Don't worry about pooled. And if you calculate it, you can see degrees of freedom, DF, is approximately 86. So you do not have to calculate those degrees of freedom by hand. What is that noise? Goodness. You don't have to calculate the degrees of freedom by hand. It'll do it for you. But I wanted to talk about some of the mechanics behind how they calculated that t-score and how they calculated that p-value. So let's dive into that. Today is the 22nd. 21. I forgot what year it was. Goodness gracious. There we go. This is just a number 28 review. Let's just call it that because I want to talk about some of the mathematics behind it. Okay. So they gave you all of this information. I'm just going to rewrite part of it. I'm going to rewrite the mean of the certified teacher scores, the standard deviation of the certified teacher scores, the mean of the uncertified teacher scores, and the standard deviation of the uncertified teacher scores. Each sample size was 44. Now, actually, you know what? I'll do that as well. N sub C is 44. N sub U is 44. I want to calculate by hand a t-score. I want to calculate by hand a t-score. Now, typically what ends up happening with a z-score is, well, the data point minus the average divided by the standard deviation. The data point minus the population average over the standard deviation. That's the typical way in which critical values are calculated. In fact, just for the sake of argument, if you were to look at the formula sheet that they give you right here on the AP test, you can see right there at the top, standardized test statistic. This is the general way in which any z-score or t-score is calculated. The statistic that was found minus the population parameter divided by the standard deviation of the statistic. That's the general way in which these t-scores and z-scores are calculated. So I'm going to write something and then I want to explain why it is what it is. I'm going to write something else underneath of it in a little bit. But that's what I'm writing down first. The sample statistic minus the population parameter in terms of average. Now, we are assuming, according to the null hypothesis that we did the other day, we are assuming a population parameter difference of nothing. There is no difference. We are assuming that there is no difference between the two. That is the assumed population parameter difference. Whereas the sample difference, because these are two sample averages, the sample difference would be calculated within these parentheses. So once again, regardless of whether you're doing a t-score or a z-score, in this case, we are finding the sample difference, that's the sample statistic, minus the population parameter, well, in this case, the population parameter difference, which we're assuming, according to the null, that there's no difference. On the bottom, we are to calculate a standard deviation. However, we have two separate standard deviations. Now, typically, you would take this, well, standard deviation of the sample. You would divide it by the square root of the sample size in order to get the, well, not standard deviation, really standard error at that point. And the same thing with the uncertified teachers. So I'm going to draw something out on the board, but I'll write something different on paper. I'm going to draw something out here, but I'm going to erase it. The standard error of the sample is supposed to be that calculation for certified teachers. For uncertified teachers, it's supposed to be that calculation. How do I combine them? I have to combine these two standard errors in order to put it on the bottom of this fraction. I can't just add them together or subtract them. Technically, it would be subtraction because we're looking at the difference between the two of them. But if you happen to remember, back when we combined standard deviations, you have to convert to variance. Then, regardless of whether you're adding them or subtracting them, it doesn't matter. You always add the variances, not a typo. And then you square root it back to be, well, the regular standard deviation or standard error. Now, again, I'm going to erase this in a moment. But basically, I'm going to have to square it. I'm going to have to square it. Then I add them together. And then I square root it back. Now I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to use a little bit of arithmetic skills here in a moment, where you're going to see that, yes, I did indeed square the top and bottom of this fraction. I did indeed square the top and bottom of this fraction. And then you can see it added together and square rooted. I'm going to do that on my paper. It's going to look like this. (9.31 squared over 44. 9.43 squared over 44 with the giant square root back. Let me move that up and I'll zoom in. See, because the 44s are in a square root, when you square them, well, it's just a 44 at that point. But I'd still have to square the top two. It's implied with this calculation that the squaring to variance has taken place. Then I add them together, regardless of if I'm finding a sum or difference. Not a typo, you always add variances, let's say. And then you square root them back to be that standard error. Now, according to my calculator, according to the standard, or the sample t-test, zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, the t statistic should have been 1.57. You can see t score should have been 1.5717. Blah, 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 blah. Let's actually figure that out by hand. Well, by hand on the calculator. I don't have to do the -0 because it's assumed. But watch how I'm typing this in. There's the sample, well, there's the t score that was found as a result of this. This calculation produces the exact t score that we are looking for. I'm going to round it to 1.572 is what I'm going to round it to. But that's literally how it would be done. Again, same thing as any z-score. When you're calculating a t-score, it is the sample statistic or the data point minus the population average divided by the standard deviation of the statistic, in this case, the combined standard errors. Still looking for that p-value, though. Again, I wanted to talk about the mechanics behind all of this. The p-value, according to the calculator, if I were to bring this back real quick, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, the p-value was 0.0598. That's the p-value that we would then make a determination about, which we talked about the varied conclusions that you can have. Here's what I would do. TCDF. I'm going to do a TCDF. Freeze this temporarily. Boop, boop. I'm bringing up the calculator that's on my computer so that you can see what the calculator actually says we should be doing with this. Let's unfreeze that, clear that, move over there. Oh, I wanted TCDF. That's right. TCDF. It's right there. Boom. Notice the only pieces of information they ask for. In this case, I'm going to be doing 1.572 approximately, comma, big number, comma, degrees of freedom. There were 44 degrees of freedom in the first sample, 44 degrees of freedom in the second sample. Let's say that I didn't actually run the t-test, but the problem told me to use 86 degrees of freedom. That was the assumed 86 degrees of freedom. That's why they put that in the problem. If I were to run this, boom, 0.0598. That is exactly what the two-sample t-test does for you. That is exactly what the two-sample t-test does for you, 0.0598. That is your p-value. I'll flip back real quick. Boom. That is your p-value, and that is your t-score. That is how they do them. It's really nice when the calculator does it for you. But I wanted to talk about these mechanics because of some of the multiple choice questions that they will end up throwing at you. And some of the multiple choice questions that they throw at you will have options where it's like, oh, pick the correct calculation. Which of these fractions would actually, with the numbers plugged in, would produce the right standard error for this problem or something along those lines? I want to run the 2 sample t on here just to see what it looks like. 2 sample t, putting in all this information, 35.62, boom. 9.31, boom. 44, boom. 32.48, boom. 9.43, boom. 44, boom. It's got to be greater than according to our alternate hypothesis. Pool, don't worry about it. I'm going to draw it. Just for fun, I'm going to draw it. Draw. There it is. The only thing with these two numbers at the bottom is that it doesn't show you the degrees of freedom, which should have been 85.9 something. But you can see the t-score on the bottom left, and you can see the p-value on the bottom right. It's kind of nice. But that's what they do. Actually, I do want to see the degrees of freedom here. The most patriotic statistic of all time. There it is. 85.98. 589.819. Excellent. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I went over those mechanics because showing this stuff and understanding how these things were calculated can be incredibly helpful. Okay. I'm going to be assigning you an assessment. It's going to be a dual assessment. It's going to be a little weird. It's going to be a little bit different than other assessments that we've had. Now, obviously, I'm assigning it today. Today is Thursday. You have the weekend, of course. What I want to do is I want to give you open-ended questions and a quizzes. Now, the quizzes is kind of like the appetizer. The quizzes is going to count separately as a minor, and you will have 2 attempts to get that thing done. Well, you don't have to take 2 attempts, but you can take 2 attempts to get as high a score as possible. But then I am also going to be assigning some open-ended questions as well, which obviously you will have to write out your responses, take a picture, upload it to the Google Classroom assignment as well. Now, it is Thursday, and obviously I have you on Monday. Typically, I like to have my assessments due like first thing in the morning. But Monday, I mean, we're all preparing for this weird day on Monday. I'm going to have you for 84 minutes on Monday. That's going to be nice. We're going to have more time to do stuff. But what I'm going to do is kind of a little bit of a shift. I'm going to give you a little bit of extra time on Monday. I'm going to have it due Tuesday morning. Tuesday, 7:30-ish, whatever, the thing like that. So if you completely forget to do it, I can at least remind you on Monday, and then you can panic on Monday night. So, yay. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to post that today, and then you will have that information moving forward. And, of course, you can email me with any questions that you have. Okay. Now, I want to do a little bit of a multiple choice practice thing. So what I'm going to ask, now I would say some of the desks have all been like mixed up in terms of the things that are underneath. If you can find the dry erase board, I have extra erasers if need be, and I have extra pens if need be. If you can find an extra marker as well, that'd be great. If you can't, there are other desks around here. And I do have extra dry erase boards because I don't know if the janitor throws them out on me. That'd be really weird. But I do have extra pens. For those of you that are online, obviously you can still try these problems on your own. No one's keeping track of your scores. This is more of a can I do this situation. So, real quick, all right, who needs a pen? Oh, lots of people. Goodness gracious. I got pens to throw. Don't worry. Hold on. All right, hold on. Here. Oh, that was short. That was on me. That's on me. Here. Yep. I missed. I got more. Hold on. bought so many dry erase markers over the years, but I don't like writing on the board too much, so I have a lot of extras. Yep. That was a bad throw on me. That was a bad throw. Oh. 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 Oh, look at that. See? Oh, that didn't even hit the ceiling. Look at that. Goodness gracious. Anyway. But I have so many extra dry erase markers, but I don't like drawing on the board. Every year, they give teachers a budget to buy classroom supplies with. And I always buy, I buy the stuff that I need. I buy the paper that I need. I buy the markers that I need. I buy the textbook supplies that I need, all the extra little stuff, like the brand new pencil sharpeners and things of that nature, which for some reason right now is like sticking out. So is that broken? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with that pencil sharpener, but I just bought that like last year. But anyway, I always have all this extra money, and they're just like, what do I do with the extra money? Oh, we'll spend it. Spend it on what? Spend it on stuff. Okay. So I buy markers to throw at kids. It's my one true passion in life. Anyway. So for those of you that are here, I would like you to take a certain amount of time. Not a whole lot of time. I'm gonna try and keep this limited to less than a couple of minutes because on average, multiple choice questions, 2 minutes, 15 seconds on average, but you really should be spending less than that so that you bank all of the extra time for checking your answers at the end of the test. The goal for those 90 minutes of multiple choice questions is to have at least 10 to 15 minutes extra at the end to use to kind of go over your questions. Which ones do I need to look at? Which ones do I really need to think about? Etc. My suggestion would be something like this. This is just a strategy that I did in college, and some of you may do something similar. But let's just say I have it's not really a Scantron, it's just like a bunch of bubbles that you fill in, but it's not really a Scantron. Well, let's just say here's the first 6 questions. I don't know. Maybe I did it like this. So like abacadabra almost. But as I'm going through the questions, it's like, okay, number 1, I got it. No, I'm pretty confident on that. Skip it. Number 2, maybe not so much. Maybe I'll just leave myself a little note right here and I'll come back to it. Number 3, I felt pretty confident on. Number 4, absolutely no idea. I'll come back to that. Number 5, I felt pretty good on. Number 6, I felt pretty good on. And then at the end of the test, instead of flipping through all 40 questions, trying to figure out, well, which one did I need to double check? Which one did I feel bad about? Now you have a little system of codes where it's like anytime you put a dot, you're like, okay, that one I wasn't too sure on. But anytime you see a star, you're like, holy crap, I should go revisit that question. So you save yourself the time and energy of having to flip through 40 questions and figuring out which one is the one I need to go back to. And then before you know it, there's no time left. You have to budget your time accordingly. You have to budget your time accordingly. So write the letter full and large that I can see it when I ask for it. For those of you that are online, this is basically a game amongst yourselves. Let's see what we got here. I picked questions that are specific to what we've been doing. A calculator. I probably should say this. Hold on. I won't do the calculator question first, but I'm going to say for everyone who doesn't have a Chromebook open right now, a calculator will be needed for some of these questions. So just so I won't do it right away. I won't do that question first. I'll come back to that one. But you will need a calculator at some point. Here we go. Here is a problem that doesn't require a calculator. Let me zoom in as much as I possibly can. It'll focus. So, should there be more restrictions on handguns? In a 1995 pre-Columbine survey, 255 out of 1,020 adults answered in the affirmative. Yes, there should be more restrictions. In a 2000 post-Columbine survey, 352 out of 1,100 answered affirmatively as yes, there should be more. They want you to establish a 90% confidence interval estimate of the difference between the proportions of adults in 1995 and 2000 who support more restrictions on handguns. Oh, they want you to construct a 90% confidence interval. Great. Oh, but they don't actually want us to construct it with the calculator. They want us to figure out which is the correct form of what the confidence interval would do. So, you have a couple minutes or less. Let's try to figure out which one. I'm going to try and do my best to let the chat see that one because I know there's a giant glare on there. Let me get rid of this. Boom. Let me try to move it over a little more. Get that glare out of the way. Hopefully you can see that the first portion of the confidence interval is not actually needed because they're all the same. So this should be sufficient for those online. Just for the sake of argument, 255 out of 1020 is equal to 0.25, and 352 out of 1100 is equal to 0.32 on the dot. No rounding needed. All right, make a choice. Make a choice. Make sure you write that letter. All right, let me see. Hold up. Let's see. Ooh, different ones. Okay, hold on. Keep them up. I got a lot of A's. I got some smatterings of B's, C's, and D's, but it's mostly A's. Let's see what happens. Okay, all right. Mostly A's, but then none of you picked E, so we'll see what happens with that one. If you notice, there it is. The critical values that they have here. Since we are dealing with proportions, categorical data, that means immediately that you are going to be dealing with some form of a Z interval or Z test, in this case, a Z interval. They want a 90% confidence interval. Since they want a 90% confidence interval, just kind of visually representing this right here, visually representing a 90% confidence interval means that I'm missing 10% on either side, meaning that this is the 95th percentile. Now, calculators, I thought this one didn't need a calculator, but I'm just going to use it anyway. Inverse norm of 0.95, you can see right here is 1.645. That is the critical value that I'm going to need to use. And because of that, that eliminates those three. So it comes down to A or B. And when it comes down to A or B, you are combining the two purported standard deviations, which typically would be calculated something like this. 0.32, 0.68 over 1100. But then you're going to have to square them, add them, square root them back. And because of that, chapow. Yes, the answer is indeed A. That is the one that they want. So you would need to know the critical value and how to calculate that critical value, but also the proper way of combining two categorical standard deviations. Remember, if you're dealing with categorical data, that's typically how they do that standard error, standard deviation. For quantitative data, that is typically how they do it. A little strange, but we got to get that done. They do give you a formula to that effect on the actual formula sheet of the test, but we need to recognize which is which. Let's see what we got next. I'm going to throw one of my previous questions on there. Let's see. There it is. Chapow. Move it over. There we go. Okay. Good. A fitness center advertises that the average pulse rate of its members is 68.4 beats per minute. A high school AP Stat instructor suspects that this is a made-up number and runs a hypothesis test on a simple random sample of 48 members, calculating a mean of 71 beats per minute and a standard deviation of 10.3 beats per minute. In which of the following intervals is the p-value located? Bless you. Bless you again. Take some time, see what you get. This is one where you don't have to show any work. You just have to perform the proper test to get the p-value. All right, you got to pick an answer. See what you can do. See, the wonderful thing about this problem is that you don't have to go through assumptions and conditions, thankfully, because none of the choices are like, you can't do it. You just have to figure out which test to use. Hold them up. Let's see. Let me see. Hold them up. High. Got a bunch of D's and C's. A couple of smatterings of B's, but mostly D's and C's. All right, let's see what happens. Which test are we going to run? We're talking about beats per minute. Meaning this is quantitative data. Quantitative data can either run in the form of a z-test or a t-test. It could be one of the two, z-test or a t-test. If you're going to be dealing with a z-test or a t-test, well, one of the main distinguishing factors between using one or the other is whether or not you have the population standard deviation. According to the statement, a high school stat instructor suspects his made-up number, runs a test calculating a mean of 71 with a standard deviation at 10.3. That is a sample standard deviation. And because that is a sample standard deviation, you are going to be using a t-test. Let's take a look. Since you're going to be running a t-test, the assumed number is 68.4. That's the claim. The sample average, the sample standard deviation, the sample size. Now, the interesting thing is, what alternate hypothesis do you use? Let's look at the question. It says the stat teacher thinks it's a made-up number. If it's a made-up number, he's not indicating the direction. He's not indicating the direction that we're going to have to be calculating this thing. And since he's not indicating the direction, I'm going to have to do not equal to. Not equal to. Calculate that thing. P-value of 0.0868, which puts the answer at D. That is the answer to this question. It all had to do with that alternate hypothesis. And you can see the alternate hypothesis right there. Not equal to. All had to do with the wording of the question. If you did not do not equal to, let's say you did, I don't know, greater than. Let's say you did greater than. If you calculated that, then you would have gotten a p-value, yes, which would have been half as much. And that answer would have been C, but no, the answer was D because you had to go not equals to. Got to be very careful about the wording of the question. Remember, the people who design these questions, they hate you, and they will do everything in their power to get you to mess up. They will. Let's see. I like this one. I'll move the calculator, of course. Here we go. In a one-sided hypothesis test for the mean, for a random sample size of 15, the t-score of the sample size was 2.615. Is this significant at the 5% level? Is this significant at the 1% level? This will be the last question that we focus on today. Take your time. Let's see what we can do with this one. So there we go. I'll give you one small hint. The answer is not E. It's not E. I'll show you exactly what I calculated in a few moments. Well, moments. About a minute after I look at your answers. But the answer is not E. All right, pick an answer. Pick an answer, pick an answer, pick an answer. Make sure you've written it down. Make sure it's clear. Hold them up. Let me see them. Let me see them. Let me see them. Okay. Mostly A's and B's. A couple of C's in there. That wasn't the D. That's why I couldn't see it. Yeah. Okay. But it's mostly A's. All right, let's take a look. In a one-sided hypothesis test for a random sample size of 15, here's what I calculated. Notice what I just typed in. It said T-score, so I knew I was going to use TCDF here. They didn't really give me much else in terms of information. But I did the T-score, comma, big number, comma, not 15, but 14 for the degrees of freedom, America. But now here's the deal. If alpha was 0.05, we would reject, meaning that there is statistical significance here. If alpha were 0.01, we would fail to reject. If I could spell reject today. There we go. Meaning it was not significant enough. As a result, it is significant at the 5% level, alpha level, but not at the 1% level. Answer is B. You can see the calculation that they did. I did the alternative. I don't care about all this junk at the beginning. I just took the easy way out. All I did was calculate that TCDF, and then I could determine where it is in regards to alpha. Yeah, all that extra stuff, I don't care about all that extra stuff. Tail probabilities. Just do the easy way out. Anyway, like I said, I am going to be assigning you that thing before I leave here today. I'm going to make it due Tuesday morning, even though I will see you on Monday. You guys know about Wednesday, right? Apparently Wednesday is supposed to be like a weird like half day still. What the heck, dude? Like, come on. At the very least, you know what we got looking forward to? You got a 5-day weekend in May, at the end of May? Yeah. All right, whatever. I don't care. But that'll be right after your AP test. So that'll be a fun Wednesday. I'll have you the Wednesday after. Oh, gosh. What will we do? I don't know, whatever. If you haven't left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so because there is the bell. You too. See you. Thank you. You too. Oh my gosh, it is Thursday.